Welcome to This Explainer. We're diving straight into the Among Crows project today, specifically looking at mastering uncertainty. And we're going to completely dismantle that old, exhausting expectation that ambiguity is just some temporary problem we have to solve in order to live a successful life. Okay, let's step right into the ruins of Persepolis. This artwork is just beautiful. It frames ancient Persian and Abrahamic mythology, placing humanity right there at the crossroads, totally caught between raw primal instinct and higher conscious awareness. Look at the sheer scale of that crow looming over the human figure. In these ancient traditions, the absolute first lesson of survival, how to adapt, conceal, and bury, wasn't taught through complex human language. It was literally taught by the quiet, deliberate action of a bird. Listen to this incredibly powerful moment. Woe to me, am I unable to be like this crow? That resonant whisper of Cain's despair perfectly captures this massive primal gap. On one side, you've got our highly complex, overthinking, yet totally paralyzed human mind. And on the other, the stark, active, perfectly attuned intelligence of nature. This quote forces us to really confront that initial state of human helplessness, right when our grand intellect totally fails us in the face of absolute uncertainty. Now, what's really fascinating here is this sharp contrast. On the one hand, our human paralysis is almost always triggered by this intense lust for absolute certainty. We just freeze, right? We're waiting for perfect information before we dare to act. But then, on the other hand, look at a bird's simple, incredibly effective capacity to learn through silent observation. The crow doesn't wait for certainty. It observes, it tests the environment, and it acts. It's a masterclass in navigating the world exactly as it is, rather than how we wish it to be. So, here's the absolute core delusion we need to talk about. A massive portion of human anxiety, frustration, and faulty decision-making comes directly from the false belief that one day, eventually, we'll finally have enough data to live completely without doubt. We tend to think uncertainty is just a glitch in the system, but the Among Crows project argues the exact opposite. Ambiguity is a structural feature of reality. The goal isn't to delete it, the goal is to massively increase our capacity to navigate it. Let's fast forward a bit and bridge this ancient wisdom with modern cognitive science. Meet the genus Corvus. This isn't just a poetic symbol, it's a literal cognitive model for us. Crows are these silent teachers with cognitive indicators that actually rival primates. Think about this for a second. Crows grasp complex physics concepts like water displacement. Yes, this bird is literally outsmarting the average 4-year-old human. They live in the layered complexities of our world, and they absolutely specialize in managing total unpredictability. So what's actually in their survival toolkit? Well, first off, they don't just passively exist. They actively craft tools from their unpredictable surroundings, manipulating the environment to extend their own will. Beyond that, they expertly navigate highly volatile environments by constantly, quietly observing before acting. And finally, they transfer generational knowledge seamlessly. They are absolute specialists at regulating life right in the very heart of total uncertainty, which, let's be honest, is exactly the skill we humans are desperately trying to master right now. And just look at this stunning visual. The crow is holding what looks like a sphere of golden light. This beautifully illustrates how survival knowledge moves through a flock. It's like this glowing golden data passing seamlessly from generation to generation through a neural network. This means the entire flock learns and adapts without every single bird needing to face direct, fatal danger. It is the ultimate form of collective intelligence, forged entirely in the fires of an unpredictable world. Now, this collective intelligence builds directly into their social dynamics, too. The source material beautifully refers to this as dining together in conflict. Crows actually establish highly complex relationships with apex predators, like wolves. It isn't just some peaceful coexistence, it's a strategic cooperation where the boundaries of competition are continuously redefined based on mutual benefit. It proves that survival in an unstable world absolutely requires continuous learning from shared experiences with others. Total isolation, that's simply not a viable survival strategy. To help us actually thrive within these complex systems, the Among Crows project outlines a really powerful philosophical framework. It breaks down 5 specific roles of the crow that we, as humans, must adopt if we want to reach true existential maturity. And to be clear, these aren't just biological traits, they're mental postures we can take to transform our own lived experiences, our failures, our doubts, our messy decisions, into a highly structured way of living. Let's dive into them one by one. First up, we have the teacher, or a musigar. This role shows us exactly how to step back from being totally overwhelmed by a crisis and instead become a calm, precise observer. The teacher demonstrates how to accept doubt as a foundational, structural part of reality rather than vainly trying to eliminate it. It's that crucial shift from frantically searching for one final answer to just quietly observing the variables at play. Second is the battlefield, known as Cursor. This one's a major reality check. It reminds us that living among complex human systems, whether we're talking about business, law, or personal relationships, means a constant active engagement with the unknown. Life is not a rigid puzzle with a single permanent solution. It's a dynamic battlefield where you don't achieve some final victory over uncertainty, but rather you learn to continuously manage those uncontrollable variables as they keep coming at you. Then we encounter the third role, the adapter, or Sazgar. This teaches us a really hard truth. True power doesn't come from forcing complete control over your environment, which is impossible anyway, right? Real power comes from your capacity to continuously adjust to new conditions. The adapter survives by remaining utterly flexible, finding a deep sense of balance within the turbulence, rather than foolishly trying to stop the wind from blowing. Fourth is the Roadmaker, Rasaz. I absolutely love this one because it's where raw creativity meets survival. The Roadmaker sees dead ends not as failures, but literally as the raw material needed to invent entirely new ways of living. When the data is incomplete and the path ahead is total chaos, the Roadmaker doesn't freeze up. Instead, they extract rules from that chaos and forge brand new mental tools to make decisions anyway. And finally, the fifth role is the companion, or Rahire. This role ensures that all of this hard-earned wisdom doesn't just die with the individual. It becomes that shared, glowing data we talked about earlier. The companion transfers collective memory and strategic knowledge across turbulent, ambiguous paths, literally guiding the wider group through an ever-shifting landscape. It's all about elevating your personal survival into robust communal resilience. Which brings us to the existential exit. Just look at the sheer tension in this image, the tiny silhouette of the man on the tightrope, high above the ancient ruins, with that monumental crow in the foreground. To survive and actually thrive, we have to fundamentally shift our perspective. We absolutely must stop being overwhelmed actors drowning in our primal reactions to everyday crises, and instead become active, balanced observers of our own experiences. So what's the big takeaway you should grab from all of this? It's a complete reframing of how you view success and stability. Existential maturity means fully, wholeheartedly accepting the liminal space between knowing and not knowing. It's the profound realization that meaning is not found in static certainty. Meaning is in movement. It's in the continuous, delicate adjustment to a world that completely stubbornly refuses to be tamed. So I've got to ask you directly right now, how do you handle ambiguity in your own life? Can you step away from the exhausting lust for absolute certainty when the systems you rely on inevitably fail and the ground suddenly shifts beneath your feet? Do you freeze in despair, or do you adapt, observe, and learn? Basically, will you fall or will you fly? As we wrap up this explainer, let this stunning golden emblem of the crow stick with you. It perfectly encapsulates Amir Mohamad Ardalan's brilliant synthesis of ancient myth and modern cognitive science. The crow is inviting you to boldly embrace the unstable edge, to find your true balance in the ambiguity, and to finally stop waiting for a certainty that is never going to arrive. The unknown isn't your enemy, it's your absolute greatest teacher. So the next time you find yourself paralyzed by uncertainty, just ask yourself, what would the crow do?